Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet such an iconic skirt from the show Charmed, and I was watching it and I noticed Phoebe wearing this absolutely beautiful autumnal granny square midi, kind of more longer than a midi skirt, and I was so inspired that I immediately knew I had to try and replicate it. So that is what this video is going to be about, me replicating the most beautiful skirt from the show Charmed. I absolutely love the outfits on that show, like any clothing that was from that era. I just am so inspired by that era of fashion and 90s fashion. I'm so inspired, so every time I watch shows from the early 2000s or the 90s, I get so inspired by the fashion, which is why I love making clothes inspired by shows or movies from the older days. I say the older days, but I mean, it is technically the older days. That was like over 20 years ago now, which is wild to me. I know there's like a huge controversy about people calling the 90s vintage, because people are like, that's not vintage, but I think that the 90s is vintage. I really do. But I'm seriously so excited to make this skirt. It's so perfect for my aesthetic. I honestly don't know what to call my style. I have no clue, but it's like a mix of 90s, whimsigoth, some 70s, and this skirt kind of embodies all of that. It's like the best of both worlds for me, and I'm so excited to wear it. I actually, as of this moment, have not yet finished it, but I will finish it this weekend. It will be done very soon, hopefully. But I'm so excited to finish this skirt. I am loving it so far. It's one of my favorite things that I have made so far this year, and I'm in love with it, and I hope you guys absolutely love it too. It's been such a fun thing to figure out and try to replicate as much as I can the skirt from the show. I'm really happy with how it's all turning out, and the design process, everything. It's been a fun experience. It's just been a lot of fun. Designing crochet and knit patterns like this, it takes a lot of planning and sorting through all of my inspiration and my ideas. Usually they're just rolling around in my brain or scattered throughout my phone and my notes app and my photo album, or I also have a notebook where I do all my sketching in. They're all in there, like a bunch of notes in there, and then like just scraps of paper that I find. It's usually just all over the place. So I recently started using Milanote to help me organize my projects better. I'm gonna go ahead and show you how I used Milanote to help me plan the Phoebe skirt. So here is my mood board for the pattern. I basically just dropped in my inspo pics and wrote out a rough draft of the pattern process over here. I also wrote up a content schedule to keep me up to date on when I post everything by. I already posted this, so I'm just gonna check it off. I picked my yarn based off of the inspo photos because I really wanted to keep the colors as close to the original as I could. I used the color drop tool to make all of these color palettes so I could see how all the colors looked together, and just to see how they closely matched the skirt that she's wearing. This is so helpful for future projects too, when I don't have clear inspo photos like this and need to see how well all the colors are gonna look together. You can also upload photos of your sketches right into Milanote like I did here, or you can literally draw directly on your mood board. Let me show you this subboard I have here, my Phoebe's sweater board. Eventually, I want to knit a sweater inspired by this one to match the skirt that we're making in this video. I have never knit, or I'm gonna make it a raglan, and I've never knit one before, so we'll see how that goes. I gathered some inspo pics online for what I want my sweater to look like, because I'm honestly just taking inspiration from the color of Phoebe's sweater and not so much the design. I'd rather one that looks like this one here. I drew this guideline sketch for the increasing math right in Milanote onto my mood board. Knitting a raglan requires a lot of math, and that is slightly overwhelming me. So I need to knit a quick gauge swatch that's like 1 inch, not very long, so I can put the dimensions of it right by my sketch here. Okay, here is my swatch, and this is 6 rows, and it is 1 inch. 6 rows is 1 inch, so I just need to put those numbers in. I found this article, this blog post from Carol Feller, and it talks about how to construct a knit raglan, which is super helpful. But I want to save this to my Millinote board, so I'm using the web clipper tool to just like hover over the picture, and you can click save, and you can pick which board you want to save this picture to, which I want it to be saved to Phoebe's sweater. So it's saved there. I want this picture because it's really helpful, showing all the increases. And I also want to save this video here, how to knit raglan increases, from, I think it was Ashley Lillis. It was such a helpful video, so then I can reference it later. So I'm also going to click save, save to Phoebe's sweater. And I can literally just hover over any of these images and click save, and it will go directly to my board. So now I'm just bringing over my links. And also I have this photo of my swatch that I'm going to bring in. I'm also going to crop it a little bit. Here we go. Much better. So I have my links over here to help me out. I have my math. I just love how everything is all in one organized spot. Millinote makes starting projects so simple. They have hundreds of templates to choose from. I just used the mood board template, but there are so many different types curated for a wide range of creatives, like filmmakers, interior designers, fashion designers, photographers, and a lot more. It is a tool to help you organize your work and make the process so much simpler. I have the Millinote app on my phone, which is really nice for when I get an idea and I'm out and about and I just need to quickly jot down my thoughts. Millinote is always available for free, so sign up for a free account using the link in my description. Okay, so now let us talk measurements. First thing you're going to want to do is make a square, and it is 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. Yours might be different dimensions based on your yarn type, your tension, all kinds of things, but go ahead, make a square, measure it. Mine is 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And now you need to go ahead and measure your hips. My hips are 36 inches wide, so if I know that my squares are 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and my hips, I need to make enough squares to reach around my hips, then for me, I need to make 10 squares around. I need to have 10 squares around to reach around my hips. And that is, if I have 10 squares around, it is 35 inches, which is technically, obviously not 36, but I have not yet blocked it. It will loosen out also over time because crochet does stretch out over time. Now I know I need to make 10 squares around, and if I want to start my granny stitch below my knee, I need to measure from my belly button all the way down to below my knee to see how many rows of squares I need to make. Unless you want to make yours lower waisted than mine, I just usually like higher waisted things a lot more than lower waisted because it's just more comfortable for me. So I'm just measuring from my belly button down to my, obviously do this standing, not sitting, but I did do this before. And mine is about 24 inches. So if my squares are 3.5 inches, let's just multiply that by 5, you get 17.5 inches, which is not enough. So let's do 3.5 times 6. That is 21 inches, which is technically not enough, but if you factor in the waistband, which is going to be a few inches, let's just add 3 to that, you get 24. Now, for me, I'm not sure if this is an actual thing or not, but once I tried mine on, I don't know if it's because my hips and thighs are a little bit wider that it like made it shorter. Like, I'm not sure if that's the case for like tighter things, but it was set to be fine, 24 inches. It's perfect. Everything is good. The math was right. But when I try it on now, it is above my knee, which is not the look that I wanted. So I technically should have done 7 rows of squares long instead of 6, which I'm kind of crashing out about, not gonna lie, because I really wanted it to look very closely to the show. So I'm kind of bummed about it, and I technically could add another row of squares, but Actually, I couldn't. What am I saying? I already did rows of the granny stitch. Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying. Ignore me. Mine's not going to be precisely that way. So if you have wider hips and wider thighs, take that into consideration if that's actually a thing. I'm not sure if it is, but once I tried it on, it got shorter. So I don't know. Okay, so I have 24 inches here. And my granny stitch, I'm going to make, remember in the inspo photo how she has rows of the granny stitch on hers. I am gonna make, I'm not even sure yet, honestly. It's just gonna be based on what it looks like, I guess, for me. I don't have a set amount of rows that I'm gonna do. I'm guessing like maybe 5.5, 6 inches or so, I think. But then at the end on her skirt, she has 1 row of squares at the bottom. But I'm kind of wanting this skirt to be about 33 to 35 inches long. And I'm at currently, I think, the 24, 25 inch mark. So I've got a lot of work to do and I have a lot to make. So that is the basic big measurement that you need is your hip measurement, because you need your squares to fit around your hips, not your waist. If they fit around your waist, they won't fit over your hips unless you don't have wider hips than your waist. But I do. So if you have wider hips, you need to accommodate those rather than your waist, because we will do some decreasing for the waist to make it fit on our waist later on. But I think that's all that I need to tell you about the measurements. If there is more, which there will be more later, I will mention that throughout the video. Okay, so now that that's settled for now, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to make your squares. Here are some examples of the squares that I made. We have 2 different types of squares. I'll show you how to make each one in just a second. But we have the flower granny square, kind of looks like a little bit of a flower. It starts off as a circle and then we square it off. I love this one so much. And then we have the, of course, traditional granny square that everybody knows and loves. So these are the 2 granny squares I'm going to be teaching you how to make right now. We're going to start with the traditional granny square. I'm going to start out with cream for the center, and my yarn recommends me using a 3.5mm hook, but I am going to be using a 4mm hook. I'm going to start off by making a slip knot. And I know a lot of granny squares use a magic circle, and I've used a magic circle in the past, but I've had issues with that. Starting out, my magic circle has come undone and my squares have come undone, and it's just not as secure of a start in my opinion. So we're going to do the chain 4 method. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in that first chain that we made, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into that chain, and that creates a circle. I know it's very hard to see, but it is right there. So that is our circle that we are going to be working into. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 3, and into our circle I'm going to go ahead and work 1 double crochet next to the chain 3. And then another double crochet right next to that one. And that chain 3 that we just made counts as a double crochet. So we have 1, 2, 3 double crochets for our first cluster. So now we're going to chain 2 and right back into our hole. We're going to put 3 more double crochets for another cluster. Chain 2, 3 more double crochets into the circle. 1, 2, and 3. And now we're going to do that just one more time. Chain 2, and into the circle put 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Then I'm going to chain 2 and slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. Chain 1. Cut my yarn, leave a little bit of a tail that I can weave in later. Pull out my hook, tighten it a bit, and there we have our first row of the traditional granny square all done. And now I'm going to add in my next color, which is going to be this navy. And for the traditional square, you're always going to add your new color in one of the 4 corners. So I'm just going to pick any of the corners. It doesn't matter which one you pick. And I'm just going to put my yarn on my hook and pull it through the corner, and then I'm just going to tie it on to secure it in place. And I double knot it usually. And then I'm just going to insert my hook back into the corner, chain 3, and in that corner space I'm going to add 2 more double crochets because that chain 3 counts as the first of the cluster. So now we have a total of 3. And now that we are in one of the corners, I am going to need to make a corner. So in every corner you need to add 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all in the same space. So I have 3 double crochets, and now I'm going to put chain 2. So I just chain 2, and in that same space I'm going to put 3 double crochets. Just like that. And then I'm going to chain 1. And in our next space, which is a corner, the chain 2 space is our corner, I'm going to go ahead and put 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all in the same space, in that chain 2 space, which is one of our corners. So we have 2 corners done now. Chain 1, go to the next corner and put 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all in the same chain 2 space. Then I'm going to chain 1, and in my final corner I'm going to put 3 double crochets, whoops, 3 double crochets almost, okay, and then I'm going to chain 2, and then 3 double crochets again in that same chain 2 space in that last corner of this round. And then don't forget to chain 1 and slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. Then you can chain 1, cut your yarn, pull out your hook, tighten it a bit, and there we have row 2 finished. And now we're heading into row 3. I'm going to grab orange this time. And again, we're always going to join in one of the 4 corners. So I'm just going to pick any random corner, stick my hook in it, pull in my next color, and tie it in place. And then I'm going to insert my hook into that space, pull up a loop, and chain 3. And then I'm going to put 2 double crochets next to my chain 3 to count as the first cluster because the chain 3 counts as a double crochet. And then since we are in the chain 2 space or the corner, we need to make another corner. So I'm going to chain 2 and put 3 double crochets in that same space. And now we have our first side space. So the side spaces always get just one cluster of 3 double crochets. So I'm going to chain 1, and in that first side space here, or that chain 1 space, I'm going to put 3 double crochets. 2, 3, chain 1 to get to our corner. And in that chain 2 space, or our corner space, I'm going to again put 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in the same space. Now we have another side space, so I'm going to chain 1. And in that space, in that chain 1 space from the previous row, I'm going to put 3 double crochets. Then I'm going to chain 1. We reached another corner. I'm going to put 3 double crochets. Chain 2. 3 double crochets, all in the same space for our corner. Chain 1. We've reached another side space. We're going to put 3 double crochets into that space. Chain 1. Another corner. We're going to put 3 double crochets. Chain 2. 3 double crochets in that same space. Chain 1. And in our last space here, I'm going to put our final side space of 3 double crochets. Chain 1, slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. Chain 1, cut my yarn, pull out my hook, tighten it a bit, and there we have row 3. For row 4, I'm going to do yellow. So I'm going to insert my hook into just one of the 4 corner spaces and pull in my yellow. I'm going to tie it on to secure it in place. Insert my hook into the corner space that I'm in, pull up a loop, chain 3 to count as our first double crochet, and then we need to add 2 more to make it 3 because a cluster is always 3. Then chain 2, and in that same space put 3 more double crochets for a total of 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. And now instead of 1 side space we have 2, so it's following the same steps as the previous row but doing it twice instead of 1 time. So chaining 1, I already chained 1, and in that next space I'm going to put 3 double crochets, 2, 3, chain 1, go into the next side space with 3 double crochets, chain 1. Now we've reached a corner, so in all the corner spaces, there are 4 of them, you're going to put 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets all in the same chain 2 space. chain 1, and in that side space you're going to put 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the side space, chain 1, and then in our corner we're going to put 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all in the same stitch, in the same space. Not stitch, same space. Now I'm going to chain 1, and in each of the side spaces I'm going to put 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next side space, chain 1. Now I've reached our last corner of the round, so I'm just going to put 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all in the same space, chain 1, 3 double crochets in my first side space, chain 1, and 3 double crochets in my final side space of this row. Chain 1, slip stitch into the top of the chain 3, chain 1, cut your yarn, pull out your hook and tighten it, and there we have row 4. Now we're on row 5, and this is the final row of my square, and in every single square that I've made so far I am using this dark brown color. It is color number 20, Friends Cotton 84 from Hobie. And I'm using this as my border for every single square. So this, for every single row 5 of my squares, I've used this same color. So now I'm going to join my yarn in any of the 4 corners, same way that we have been doing this whole time, and tie on this yarn. Insert my hook into that space, pull up a loop and chain 3. That counts as my first double crochet. Put 2 double crochets right next to it, and then to finish off the corner I'm going to chain 2 and put 3 more double crochets. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all in that same space for the corner. The corners all get the 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and now we have 1, 2, 3 side spaces. So we're just repeating the exact same thing but doing it 3 times now. So chain 1, and in that first space put 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next space, chain 1, and 3 double crochets in the last space on this side, and then we're back at a corner. So I'm going to chain 1, put 3 double crochets into that corner, chain 2, and 3 double crochets all into the same space, chain 1. Now we have our 3 side spaces. So in this first space, after I chained 1, I'm going to put my 3 double crochets into that space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next space, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next space, chain 1. Now we've reached our corner, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets all in the same stitch. And I'm just going to keep repeating this all the way around. Chain 1, and then in the side spaces here, in each of these side spaces, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to put 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then in the corner space I'm going to put 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, then I'm going to chain 1, put 3 double crochets in this space, chain 1, put 3 double crochets in this space, chain 1, put 3 double crochets in this space, chain 1, and slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off this row. I already chained 1, so now all I have left to do is slip stitch into the top of the chain 3, chain 1, cut my yarn, pull out my hook, and tighten. And that is the final row of my traditional granny square. Okay, and now I'm going to show you guys how to make the flower granny square. This one. So I'm going to start off with navy, and I'm going to start the exact same way that I started my traditional square, with a slip knot and a chain of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, slip stitching into the first chain, just like we did for the first one. So now I'm going to chain 3, which counts as the first double crochet. So that chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. And now I'm going to chain 1, which counts as a chain 1. So we technically have a total of 4 chains, but in reality it is counting as a double crochet, chain 1. And now I am going to, in our circle, I'm going to put 1 double crochet, chain 1, 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 and I'm going to repeat this for a total of 12 times. I already have 1 here that counts as the double crochet. So this one right here, this chain 3, counts as 1 in our 12. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 so far. So I'm going to put 6 more, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 more, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet, chain 1. So I'm going to count one more time just to check. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So I have a total of 12, and now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3, not in that chain, in that 4th chain, because that counts as one of our chain 1s. So in the top of the 3rd chain, I'm going to slip stitch, chain 1, cut my yarn, pull out my hook, and there we have row 1, which is just 12 stitches of double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, all into our circle. So we have 12 double crochets so far. And now for row 2, we're going to be doubling our amount of 12. So in any of these chain 1 spaces, it doesn't matter at all which one you choose, you're going to join in your next color. So I'm just going to pick any random one, and tie in my next color just as I did with my traditional square. I'm going to insert my hook into that stitch, pull up a loop, and chain 3 to count as the first double crochet. And then in that same chain 1 space from the previous row, I'm going to put another double crochet. Chain 1, and in the next chain 1 space from the previous row here, I'm going to put 2 double crochets, chain 1. In the next chain 1 space, I'm going to repeat the same thing of putting 2 double crochets into that space, chain 1, 2 double crochets in the next space, chain 1, 2 double crochets in the next space, chain 1, and then just repeating this all the way around in every single one of these chain 1 spaces from the previous row. I'm going to put 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets in the next, in the next, in the next, all the way around. So by the end, we should have a total of 24 double crochets, and you can count them just to be sure that you have everything right. And I now am at the beginning here, and I just did double crochet, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets in each of the, maybe it's easier if I have something white behind it to see. I don't know, it's always hard when you use a dark colored yarn, but this, maybe you can see it better now. Okay, so this is what we have so far. I have my 24 double crochets all the way around. So I chained 1 already, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. Chain 1, cut my yarn, pull out my hook, tighten it a bit, and there we have row 2 all finished. So now we can go ahead and start row 3. And for row 3, I'm going to be using this pink color. And for row 3, you can add your yarn in any of the chain 1 spaces, just any of them at all. I'm going to pick this one. And now for this row, we're not going to be putting 2 double crochets in every single chain 1 space. We're going to be putting 3 double crochets in every single chain 1 space. So we started off with 1 double crochet, so double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet for the first row. For the second row, we're doing 2 double crochets in the previous row's chain 1 space. Then we're going to chain 1 and then put 2 double crochets in the chain 1 space from the previous row. That's what we did for row 2. And now we're going to do 3. So it goes 1, 2, and 3. So for row 3, we're going to be putting 3 double crochets in each of the previous row's chain 1 space. I'm going to start with a chain of 3 that counts as the first double crochet of this little cluster, and I'm going to put 2 double crochets right next to it to finish off the cluster. Then I'm going to chain 1, and in the next chain 1 space, I'm going to put 3 double crochets, chain 1, and in the next chain 1 space, I'm going to put 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next chain 1 space, and all the way around in the chain 1 space, all the spaces here, we're just going to put 3 double crochets in each of the spaces all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my row up, putting 3 double crochets in each of the chain 1 spaces from the previous row, and then I'm going to chain 1 and go to the next one and repeat the exact same thing all the way around. Chain 1, and now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. Chain 1, cut my yarn, pull out my hook, and there we have row 3. And this is also my last row of making it a circle. For the next row, we are going to turn this circle into a square, but it's just basically so simple, just the 1 double crochet, then the 2 double crochets in the chain 1 spaces, and then the 3 double crochets in the chain 1 spaces. It's super simple. So now we're going to go ahead and square this circle off. So for the next row, I'm going to be using cream, and I'm going to join it again in any of the chain 1 spaces. So now I'm going to insert my hook into that space that I joined my yarn in, pull up a loop and chain 3. And in that same space, I'm going to add 2 more double crochets to make it a full cluster. And then I'm going to chain 1, put 3 double crochets in the next chain 1 space from the previous row. And if I were to continue on just doing double crochets, I would end up with the same circle shape that I have. So I need to use longer stitches, and we have double crochets, but then the next one up is treble crochets. So for the corners, we are going to be putting treble crochets instead of double crochets in the corner. Let me show you on one of these. This one here. So as you can see, I'm going to use my hook to point. As you can see, we just did our row here of this pink. That's what this row of white is. So now this row of pink here is what we're doing right now. So as you can see, we just did our 2 double crochets. I haven't chained 1 yet, but I will in a second. So we have our 2 double crochets here. And now as you can see, these 2 stitches here are treble crochets, these 2 clusters. This is the corner. So I made the corners have treble crochets so that they're longer and square off this circle. So as you can see, we have the cluster of doing the exact same thing that we do for the corners, doing the 3, chain 2, and then 3. But instead of doing double crochets for this row only, we're going to be doing treble crochets. And then as you can see, we have 2 more clusters of the double crochets, then back to the corner of the treble crochets, 2 double crochet clusters, then the treble crochets, and now we're going to do it together. So I have to chain 1, and now we are on treble crochets for our corner. So in the next space, I'm going to put 3 treble crochets, not double crochets, 3 treble crochets for this row only. Chain 2, and 3 treble crochets, all in the same stitch. I keep wanting to say double crochets, but it is treble crochets. Now chain 1, and we're going to do our same 2 clusters of 3 double crochets. So I already chained 1, and in the next space I'm going to put 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next space, chain 1, and now we've reached our next corner. There will be 2 clusters of 3 double crochets in between each corner. Now we're going to put our 3 treble crochets, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 3 treble crochets in that same stitch. So 3 treble crochets, chain 2, 3 treble crochets, and as you can see, it's already squaring off nicely. So now I'm going to chain 1, go in the next space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, go into the next space again with 3 double crochets, chain 1, and now we have the 2 double crochet clusters for our side. So now we're going to do our corner of 3 treble crochets, chain 2, 3 treble crochets, all in the same stitch, chain 1, in the next space put 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next space, and then in our last space we are going to put our last corner. So 3 treble crochets, chain 2, 3 treble crochets, all in the same space. Then I'm going to chain 1 and slip stitch into the top of the chain 3, chain 1 and cut my yarn. And now we have a square, which is so cool. And now I am going to do my final row. This final row is exactly like the final row on the traditional granny square. You're going to join your yarn in any one of the 4 corners. Then you're going to chain 3. And we are not doing treble crochets for our corners anymore. That was only for the previous row. So now for this corner, it is the same as our traditional granny squares of 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all in the same chain 2 space. And then just repeating the exact same steps, chaining 1, and in the side spaces you're going to put 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next side space. So all the side spaces get 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next. And then in our chain 2 corner, we're going to put 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all in the same space, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the side, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next, chain 1 and 3 double crochets in the last, and I'm just going to be repeating this same thing, chain 1, and then now we've reached a corner, so I'm going to put 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in each of the side spaces. Don't forget to chain 1 in between. Then for our corner, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in each of the side spaces, and don't forget to chain 1 in between. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my square. And now that I chained 1, I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3, chain 1, cut my yarn and pull out my hook, tighten it a bit, and there we have our final flower square. And I really love this one so much. And then of course you have to weave in all of your ends, which is the most daunting part in my opinion. Now I'm going to show you how to whip stitch together. Here I have my bottom 10 squares that I am putting on. I already have whip stitched the entire skirt together, and now I'm just doing the final row that gets added right here. So that is what I'm doing right now. And I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares whip stitched together. This is the wrong side, but I am going to show you how to do the whip stitching. I know that a lot of people connect their squares in a lot of different ways, so you can connect it in any way that you would like, but I wanted to show you how I do it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my next square. Now this is the right side of the square, and we're going to flip it over to the wrong side of the square, because you're always going to want the wrong sides facing up. So here I have all the wrong sides here, and then this is the wrong side of my next square coming in. So I'm going to grab a amount of yarn. I usually go a little bit over what I think I'm going to need, because it is frustrating when you run out. So I'm just going to grab a somewhat long-ish tail of yarn, strand of yarn that is, and I'm just going to thread it onto my tapestry needle just like that, and I'm going to take my 2 squares, and as you can see we have the corners of the squares, the chain 2s, each lining up with each other, the chain 2s. So I'm going to thread my tapestry needle through both chain 2 spots on either side of the squares, on both sides of the square. And I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot just to make sure everything is really secure. I'm a big fan of tying knots. I don't know if that's like a bad thing. I've heard that a lot of people say that tying knots in like crochet knitting, it's like illegal, but I do like to tie knots sometimes because I just like everything to be nice and secure and safe. But I don't know, I could be just hearing that from one person that they didn't like it. But anyway, I am going to now show you how to whip stitch this together. So the main thing is keeping our squares together so that you are whip stitching in the same stitches on either side. So as you can see, we have our 3 cluster double crochet right here. Let me scooch in a little bit. It's probably hard to see just because of the dark yarn, but basically you are going to go into the first stitch here, not through both loops. We're not going to go through both loops though. With whip stitching you can go through both loops if you would like to. I just like to go through the back loops, so the loops closest to each other. So I have the back loop here of my first stitch of this cluster, and I'm going to go through that, and then technically it is the front loop of the stitch on the other side. So it's not both back loops. I said both back loops, but it is technically not both back loops when it's like this. So I'm going to go through the back loop on the first square and the front loop only on the second square, and just pull my yarn through, going on this side always. I'm not going back and forth. I'm only going to be going through this side. So I'm going to find my next double crochet, and I'm going to go through the back loop only, not both loops, just the back loop. And then I'm going to find the front loop of the stitch, the same stitch on the other square, the same middle stitch of the corner cluster, and pull my tapestry needle through. And now I'm going to find that final stitch of the cluster, go through the back loop and the front loop, pull through, and then just tighten very gently. And then we have our chain 1 that comes next. So I'm just going to go in the back loop of the chain 1 on this side and the front loop of the chain 1 on the other side of the square, on the other square, the one on this side. And now I've reached a side space, and as you can see, I'm just keeping everything perfectly lined up. So I'm going to go in the back loop of the first double crochet of the cluster on this side, and then the front loop of the one on the other side, and remembering only to go through this way, not back and forth. And there are a lot of tutorials on whip stitching. I know it's difficult to see with my dark colored yarn a little bit, but this is the color that hers is in the show, so I did have to replicate it. And I also really do love this beautiful chocolatey brown. It's so beautiful. but I'm hoping you can see it. I will insert a video that I took on my phone of just a different angle that would be much easier to see. So I am going to insert that, but I am just going to keep on repeating this, going in the back loop of the first square and the front loop of the second square, keeping everything all lined up and only going in on this side, if you know what I mean, not going back and forth. So I'm going to keep on repeating this all the way along my square. And now I'm just going to go ahead and insert that video of a little easier angle to see what I'm doing. And now I've gone in every single stitch, nicely lined up perfectly. And I'm going to go ahead and, as you can see, we have our chain 2s on either side. I am going to go into the back and front loops of just one of the chain 2s. And then I'm not going to pull all the way through. I am going to leave a loop here. And then I'm going to take my tapestry needle, and to secure it, I'm just going to take my tapestry needle and go right through the loop that creates a little knot just to secure everything nicely. And now I'm just going to go ahead and weave in both of these ends. Okay, I have my 9 seamed together, and now I'm just going to whip stitch my final one in while I talk to you guys about how to whip stitch the entire skirt together. So I drew up this easy to follow grid, diagram, I guess I would call it. Not really a grid, it's a diagram of how I whip stitch my skirt together. So I put my 10 squares wide by my 6 squares long, and these red dashed lines that you see, that is all that I did my whip stitching of. I did all my whip stitching up that red dashed line that you see. I went all the way up, all of these 6 squares up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. So the red dashed line is where I went up with my whip stitches, going 6 squares up, and then I also have this diagram to show you on what to do next. So the red straight lines are what I've already done, and then the blue dashed lines are what I'm whip stitching next. So I did the 6 squares up, and now I'm going to be with these blue lines here. After the 6 squares up are done, I'm going to whip stitch the 10 squares across, going the long ways. And I'm going to do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And then I have another diagram here. So I'm going to take my piece, and it's facing this way, wrong side facing out. And I want to take the whole thing, just pretend that this is my whole entire skirt. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to fold it this way here so that the wrong side is still facing out. Okay, so you're just going to fold it in half so the wrong side is still facing out. And then here's the diagram, the last one. You're just going to go ahead and whip stitch down the red dashed line here to close the whole entire skirt together. And that is it. That is basically the entire process of whip stitching the skirt together, and this does take quite a bit of time, so don't underestimate the amount of time that it's going to take you, because it did take me quite some time to do, and I did it on the floor and it was very uncomfortable. So I recommend laying out all your squares, possibly like, I don't know, on some type of board that can be transferred to a table. My husband told me this when it was far too late into the process. He's like, you should have put them all on a board and then put them on your table or on a table of some kind. So I'm going to tell you guys that because it was too late for me, but it probably won't be too late for you. So maybe just lay out all your squares on, if I don't have a big enough table for it, but if you have a big enough table, then lay them out like on a dining room table or something, and then do it that way because it's just a lot easier. I do not have a dining room table. This is the biggest table that I have, and it's still not big enough. So if you have a big table, dining room table, definitely would recommend doing it that way to save yourself some trouble of doing it on the floor. So yeah, basically you just whip stitch them all the 6 squares long first, and then you do the 10 squares wide, then you fold it in half and make sure that your squares are still facing the wrong side, and then just whip stitch that final row that's not closed, just whip stitch it together so that your skirt is closed. And it's very simple, it just takes quite some time, so have fun with that. It is my least favorite part, honestly. Whip stitching together is my least favorite part, I think. I don't know, it's not my favorite, but I did not hate it this time. I've hated it every single time I've ever done anything. I've just not really enjoyed that part, but this time I don't know, it just wasn't, I enjoyed it not as I didn't hate it as much as I normally would, let's just say. Okay, here is what she's looking like so far. I am so happy with how it's looking. It's so beautiful. I love all the colors and how everything looks just so random. I am very happy with this. So now we're going to go ahead and start doing the waistband, because I need to do some decreasing for the waist, because my skirt laying flat is 17.5 inches, which is good for my hips, but not for my waist. I need it to be smaller for my waist. So I need to do some rows of decreasing before I start my ribbed waistband. So I'm going to flip my skirt over, because this is the side that I want my front to be. So I'm going to flip it over, and I brought in my 3.5 millimeter hook instead of my 4. I've been using a 4 this whole time, but I brought in a 3.5. I just went down half a hook size. So now I'm going to attach my yarn, and as you can see, we have 5 squares in the back, 2 here, 2 here, and then 1 in the middle. And I'm going to attach my yarn in the middle of the middle square in the chain 1 space. I'm just going to tie it on right here. And this all looks a little bit messy because I did do a row of half double crochets because I wanted to see how everything would look, and I didn't particularly like the look of the half double crochets, so I'm gonna do single crochets instead. So I frogged all of that, as you can see. I did a couple rows of that and I was like, I'm not really liking this, so I'm gonna do single crochets instead. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to insert my hook into that space, pull up a loop, and chain 1. And in that same space that the chain 1 is in, I'm going to put 1 single crochet. And then as you can see, we have our 3 double crochets here. I'm just going to put 1 single crochet in the top of each of those double crochets. And then in the chain 1 space, I'm going to put 1 single crochet. And then in the top of each double crochet, I'm going to put 1 single crochet. And then in the chain 1 space, I'm going to put 1 single crochet. And then 1 single crochet in each of the 3 double crochets. And then as you can see here, I've reached a corner where 2 of the squares are joined together. So in each of the chain 2 spaces here, I'm just going to put 1 single crochet. So I have a chain 2 space next. I'm just going to put 1 single crochet in that space, and then skip over to the next, this square's chain 2 space, and I'm going to put 1 single crochet into that space. And then resume putting 1 single crochet in every single stitch in the top of each double crochet and in the chain 1 space. And I'm just doing this row of 1 single crochet in every stitch so I have a better foundation to do my decreases in. Now I've reached another one of those corner spots, so I'm just going to put 1 single crochet in each of those spaces.
and then continue doing 1 single crochet in every single stitch. And I'm just going to repeat this all the way around. Alright, so I have my first row of single crochets done, and now we're going to go ahead and start decreasing. So I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet of the row. Then I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. And in that same stitch that the chain 1 is in, I'm going to go ahead and put 1 single crochet. So that's 1, and then I'm going to put a single crochet in the next stitch, 2, and in the next, 3, and then in the 4th stitch, in every single 4th stitch, I'm going to do a decrease. So I'm going to insert my hook into the 4th stitch and pull up a loop, 2 loops on my hook. Then I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch and pull up a loop. I have 3 loops on my hook, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And that just joined 2 stitches together, the 4th and 5th stitches. So now I'm going to continue doing 3 normal single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and then in that 4th stitch I'm going to repeat that decrease, inserting my hook into this stitch, pulling up a loop, 2 loops on my hook, insert my hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3. And keep on repeating this, doing 3 normal single crochets, and in the 4th stitch you're going to decrease. And I'm going to keep doing this all the way around. I made it all the way around, so I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet of the row. Then I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. And in the same stitch that the chain 1 is in, I'm going to go ahead and put 1 single crochet. And then I'm going to go ahead and put 1 single crochet in every single stitch all the way around. I'm not going to do any more decreasing. I'm just going to do 2 rows of just 1 single crochet in every single stitch. So I'm going to put 1 single crochet in every single stitch all the way around, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet that I made, and then I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and in the same stitch that the chain 1 is in, I'm going to put a single crochet and then 1 single crochet in every single stitch all the way around. If you need to do more rows of decreasing, you totally can. I believe that I decreased until I had, I think, 15 inches across, which is about my waist measurement. So you can go ahead and decrease however much you need. Just don't decrease too much. I would say if you wanted to decrease again, maybe decrease in every 5th stitch or every 6th stitch, just not too much at once, because I actually decreased again in every 3rd stitch after I decreased in every 4th stitch, and it was way too much. I could not fit the skirt over my hips at all. So I would definitely recommend not doing that, but I just decreased in every 4th stitch and then did 2 rows of just 1 single crochet in every stitch, and it actually worked out perfectly for me. So that's just something to keep in mind when you make yours. So I'm going to go ahead and reinsert my yarn, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet that we made. And I'm going to go ahead and chain 11 or 12, I'm not quite sure yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I think 11 is good. So now I have a chain of 11, and I'm going to go ahead and skip 1 stitch one chain rather, skip a chain, go into the second chain from my hook with a single crochet, and then in the next chain with a single crochet, and the next, and the next, just one single crochet in every single chain. I chained 11, but remember I skipped the first chain. That was a very loud bird outside. I don't know if you could hear that. Anyway, we chained 11 chains, but I skipped the first chain, so that means we're going to have a total of 10 single crochets, one less than what we chained. I'm just going to go ahead and put one single crochet in every single chain all the way down. And now I have my 10 single crochets here. And then in the next 2 stitches on the waistband here, I'm going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2, and then I'm going to turn my work. I am sorry I'm using such a dark color, but this just happened to be the color that I need to use, so I'm very sorry. I'm apologizing to everyone for using a dark colored yarn, but we're not going to do anything in those 2 slip stitches that we made. We're going to go back to this little start of our ribbed waistband. We're going to go right back to this, into the first, find the first one, the first single crochet, and instead of going into both loops of the stitch, we're only going to go into the back loop of the stitch. And I would count your stitches just to keep track, making sure that you're not adding anything, any single crochets to the slip stitches that you made. So I'm going to count, and I'm going to put 1 single crochet in each of these stitches in the back loop only. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then in that final stitch I'm going to go ahead and put my 10th single crochet under both loops. Just like that. And there's what we're having so far. So now I'm going to go ahead and chain 1 and turn my work. And now in that first single crochet, I'm going to go under both loops again. So the first and last stitch of the row, we're going to go under both loops of the single crochet, but for all the rest of the row, we're going to go in the back loops only. So I'm going to go ahead and continue doing that. Going in the back loops only of the stitch. Until I have a total of 10 stitches. And then I've reached my 10th stitch, which the 10th one is always extremely hard to see. Sometimes you have to do some moving around to get to it. Okay, let me use my tapestry needle to kind of lift up that stitch.
go. Now I have 10 single crochets, and then I'm going to go over to my waistband again and slip stitch into the next 2 stitches on the waistband. So 1 and 2. And now we're going to skip over those 2 slip stitches and go into the back loops of every single crochet on our ribbing, except for the final stitch where we're going to go under both loops. So now I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then in that 10th stitch again, I'm going to go under both loops of the single crochet. And now I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. And in that first single crochet, I'm going to go under both loops of the stitch. And then in the rest of the 9 single crochets, I'm just going to go in the back loops only, all the way down. And then I'm going to slip stitch in the next 2 stitches of the waistband, just repeating the same 2 rows over and over and over again until I run out of stitches around the waistband. So this is going to take a little bit of time, but I love the result. I love how this ribbing looks so much. And then in the next 2 stitches, I'm going to slip stitch 1 and 2, turn my work again, skip over those 2 slip stitches, don't put any single crochets into those slip stitches, find the first stitch of the waistband and go into the back loop of that stitch, and then in the back loop of all the stitches until the last stitch where I'm going to put my single crochet under both loops. So as you can see, we are literally just going to be repeating this process over and over again until we run out of stitches to slip stitch into. So I'm going to go ahead and keep on repeating this for my ribbing. And also, if you wanted to chain more than just the I forget how many I changed, 11, the 11 that I chained, if you want your waistband to be taller, or if you want it to be shorter, you can definitely do that. That is totally up to you, however many that you want to chain, however long you want your waistband to be. So you can chain however many you like. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish my waistband here, all the ribbing, all the way around, and then I'll show you how to seam it together. Okay, so I went all the way around with my waistband. It took a very long time, and I truly underestimated the amount of time that it would take. But right now I'm going to slip stitch it together. So I am going to turn this inside out real quick. And I'm going to join my yarn back on my hook, and I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to hold the two sides together like this. And I'm going to go into each and every stitch on either side. And slip stitch them together. And I'm just going to continue doing this all the way down. Slip stitching into each and every stitch. And then once you go all the way down, you're going to go ahead and chain one, cut your yarn, pull out your hook, and it will be nicely joined on the right side, as you can see. And this is the wrong side. It has this little lump, which is why we wanted to turn it wrong side out, so that that lump is on the inside rather than the outside, so that the outside looks as seamless as possible. And you can go ahead and turn it back right side out. And here is my waistband completely finished. And I did have to go back and frog my, I think I did 11 chains, and I actually made it longer because I wanted originally my waistband to be 3 inches, and it is about 3 inches. It's not quite 3 inches, but I couldn't make it much taller, but I originally wanted my waistband to be 3 inches, as you can see in my sketch here. I wrote it down, and then I randomly remembered that, and my previous waistband I think was barely even an inch, so I was like almost done, which was so sad. I was almost done with it all the way around, and I had to frog the whole thing, which is quite sad, but I'm glad I am back to where I almost started. So I'm going to go ahead now and show you how to do, well, after I weave in my 2 ends, of course, I'm going to go show you guys how to do the granny stitch along the bottom here, just like in Phoebe's skirt. So I'm thinking we're going to do about 5.5 to 6 inches of the granny stitch, as it shows in my sketch, and then we're going to attach the last row of granny squares at the bottom. Now we're going to move on to the bottom of our skirt. So this is the front of mine, and I'm just going to flip it to the back and to the bottom here, because now we're going to do the rows of the granny stitch. And this skirt is not, I should have added one more row of granny squares. I'm not quite sure why. I think it's because once you put it on, like, it stretches and shortens, but it is above my knee, which I wanted it to be below my knee, and it would have been perfect if I had added another row of squares. And I was going to originally make 80 and do 7 rows, but I then changed my mind. I did 6 because I'm like, it'll be fine. But it is kind of not the way that I wanted it to be, but that's okay. So I'm gonna roll with it. I'm gonna work with it. So now we're gonna start the granny stitch. So I am going to join my yarn in the back here, just maybe like kind of in the middle, like I did for the waistband. I joined in the middle of the middle square. So I'm gonna do that again. Okay, so now I'm going to insert my hook into the stitch, pull up a loop, and chain 1, 2, 3, which counts as a
double crochet in this cluster, the last double crochet in the cluster that we're going to make, because we're going to go all the way around and then finish our cluster. So the chain 3 counts as the double crochet, and then I need to have a chain 1, so technically you chain 4. And then I'm going to go directly into this chain 1 space here with 3 double crochets for a cluster. Chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, and now we've come across a corner. So I am going to put 1 double crochet in the first chain 2 space here, then 1 right in the middle of our seam, and then 1 on the other side of the chain 2 space. So in this chain 2 space, I'm going to put 1 double crochet, then right in the middle of the seam, I'm going to put 1 double crochet, and then 1 double crochet on the other side of the chain 2. Like that. I know it's a little wonky, but it's the best way to join them together. Then I'm going to chain 1 and go to the next chain 1 space, put 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space, chain 1, put 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space, chain 1, and then just keep on repeating this, putting 3 double crochets in the chain 1 spaces and chaining 1 in between. And then once you reach the corners, you're going to go ahead and do what I did in the previous corner. Put 1 double crochet in the first chain 2 space, then 1 right in the middle of the seam, and then 1 again in the chain 2 space on the other side. And it kind of makes a cluster that looks a little wonky, but yeah, anyway, it's just the best way to make it look seamless as possible. So then I'm going to chain 1 and repeat the exact same thing, putting my 3 double crochet clusters in the previous row's chain 1 spaces, chaining 1 in between each cluster, and then once I reach my spot where the 2 squares are joined up, I'm going to put 1 double crochet in the corner, 1 in the middle seam, and then 1 double crochet in the other corner, then chain 1 and resume the same pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and do this all the way around. I've now reached all the way around back to my chain 4, which the chain 3 counts as the final double crochet of this cluster that I'm going to put in. So since a cluster is always 3 double crochets, I need to put 2 more double crochets in that space. And then I'm going to slip stitch in the top of the chain 3, just like that. And now for this row, as you can see, we have a space to go into with our cluster. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 3, which counts as our first double crochet of the cluster. And then in that space, I'm going to put 2 more double crochets to finish off that cluster. But now the rest of the rows are very, very simple. The only difficult thing is remembering is how to end the row and how to begin the row. They switch back and forth every row. So once you get the hang of it, you'll get used to it, but we'll go over it for a few rows. But right now I'm going to chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, the next space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, the next space with 3 double crochets, and then in the next space with 3 double crochets. And don't forget to chain 1 in between every single cluster. So it's 3 double crochets in the previous chain 1 space, then you're going to chain 1, go into the next space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, and so on and so forth all the way around. putting 3 double crochets in each chain 1 space from the previous row, and remembering to chain 1 in between every single cluster. So I'm going to continue on doing this all the way around. Okay, so now I've reached all the way around, and I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of the chain 3, which is the first double crochet of the cluster. Okay, so there we go. And now I'm going to start row 3, and I'm going to chain 3. That counts as the first double crochet of the cluster. But as you can see here, let me see if you can see. Oh, there we go, that's better. We don't have a chain 1 space to go into. So whenever we don't have a chain 1 space to go into, we automatically know that we need to chain 4, because we need to do our cluster once we reach all the way back around. As you can see here, there's a nice chain 1 space right next to this chain 3 here. So this is going to be the last double crochet of the cluster, and then once we reach all the way around, we can put 2 more double crochets right next to this chain 3 to make a full cluster. But right now I can't do that. On the next row I'll be able to. I'll have a space to do that, because I can't go into this cluster that's right next to the chain 3. I can't go into that cluster. I have to go directly into this one with another cluster, but I need to still finish this one. So once I reach all the way back around, I will finish that one. But since this is the final double crochet of the cluster, we're going to need to chain 4 for that chain 1 that we always do in between every single cluster. So this is how we know to chain 4 when we don't have a chain 1 space right next to our chain to the left. If there's nothing here, chain 1 space to go into, then you know you have to chain 4. But if there is a space to go into, then you know that you can chain 3 as your first double crochet of the cluster, and then put 2 right next to it. But I will show you that on our next row. So I already chained 4, and now I'm going to go into the next chain 1 space with 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, chain 1. Go into the next chain 1 space, with 3 double crochets, chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, go into the next chain 1 space with 3 double crochets and chain 1, and just repeat the same thing of putting our 3 double crochet clusters in the chain 1 spaces from the previous row, and chaining 1 in between every single double crochet cluster. And just repeat this all the way around. Okay, so now I've reached all the way back around to my chain 4. So now, as you can see, I have a chain 1 space to go into to finish off that cluster. So I'm going to put 2 double crochets right next to that chain 3 and slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. Just like that. Right to the left, we have a chain 1 space to go into. So now I can chain 3, that counts as the first double crochet of the cluster. And then right next to the chain 3, right next to it, I can put my other 2 double crochets. And now my next row, I'm going to have to chain 4, because I won't have a set space to go into. So basically these 2 rows just repeat back and forth
all the way throughout the granny stitch that we're doing right now. So I just chained one, and I'm going to go into the chain one space from the previous row with 3 double crochets, chain one, and I'm just going to continue on putting 3 double crochets in each and every chain one space and chaining one in between every single cluster. And now I've reached the end of the row. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. I do not have my chain one space to go into, so I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3 to count as my last double crochet, because remember, we got to go all the way around and then back to here to finish off this cluster, because this is the last double crochet of the cluster. But since it is the last one, we need to chain one, another one, so 4 total, because we always chain one in between our clusters. So now I have my chain of 4, and I'm going to go directly into my next space, the chain one space with 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next space, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space. Oh my goodness, I don't know why that one was not wanting to work with me. Okay, so you're just going to do the same thing that we've been doing. Just 1, 2, 3 double crochets in every single chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, and so on and so forth, all the way around. I made it all the way back around, and as you can see, we have our chain 4 here, so I need to just finish out this cluster, adding 2 more double crochets and then slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. And now I'm going to go ahead and chain 3. We have our chain 1 space to go into, so I'm going to go ahead and finish off that cluster with 2 more double crochets, then chain 1, and in the chain 1 space put 3 double crochets, chain 1, and just repeat the same thing for the rows that we've been doing. And basically the beginning and ending of the rows just switch off with each other. So right now we have the full cluster, and then once we make it all the way around, we're going to chain 1 and slip stitch into here, and then we won't have our space to go into, so we'll have to chain 4. But then in the next row, we'll have the space to go into. So basically it just switches back and forth. These 2 rows that we've been doing, they just keep switching back and forth. And to figure out how many to chain, you just look next door and see if you have a space to go into. And if you don't have a space to go into right next to the left of your hook, if you don't have a space, then you're going to chain 4. But if you do, you're just going to chain 3, because that counts as the first double crochet of the cluster, and then that's just what we did here. So basically just go back and forth, switching between those 2 rows, and I am not quite sure yet how many rows I'm going to do, because I'm not quite sure how many inches I want to do. Basically I'm just going to do a bunch and then try it on, see how it looks, just to figure out when to stop. So I'm just going to continue on going, and I'll let you know how many rows and how many inches I have done once I am finished with this part of the skirt. here is our skirt, and I'm going to flip her inside out so the wrong side is facing out. And this is the back of the skirt. So let me see here. I just want to make sure that I'm lining everything up with the squares here, if you know what I mean. Okay, so I'm actually going to the front. This is the front of the skirt here. Let's do it from the front. Okay, this is the front of the skirt. So I have my 4 squares. Let me move this up so you can see better. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares here, and my 5 squares here. So I'm actually going to use some stitch markers to make this easier, just to kind of keep everything in one spot a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and attach some stitch markers, I think. See if that makes this a little easier to line up, because I want all the squares to be lined up as close as possible. I know it's not going to be perfect, but I want it to be as close as we can make it. So kind of using the clusters to line it up. See, I'm doing that here, lining up each cluster, these clusters, these, and these. That is actually helping a lot. Just to line up the clusters from our plain old double crochet granny stitch rows here, just lining them up all together. And I'm just using my stitch markers to help me out with this, and joining in the corner of the squares here to the chain 1 on the granny stitch row. Okay, so this is definitely helping. I do need more stitch markers though. I didn't know how I was going to do this, but now it is definitely seeming easier than I thought. I'm just going to fold my other squares under, just like this. And I'm going to carefully flip this over because the stitch markers are not, they kind of pop out a little bit easy since they're bobby pins and they don't like close like these guys do. Okay. Alright, so now I'm just going to do the same thing on this side. I did not whip stitch these two together because I wasn't quite sure how this was all going to work, but I'm pretty sure I can do it with it all whip stitched together like a tube. So I am going to go ahead and quickly whip stitch these two together, and then we can go ahead and whip stitch the whole thing to the skirt. Okay, I have all my stitch markers on here, and it's looking like everything is lined up perfectly, which is kind of amazing. But I just now need to grab a long tail of yarn. And I'm going to thread it through my tapestry needle. Wow, this was a really long tail. I think overestimated how much I needed, but that's okay. I am going to go ahead and I'm not sure where to start. I have never done anything like this before, so I'm not quite sure where to start. So I'm going to figure that out real quick, and then I'll get back to you. I think I'm going to start whip stitching maybe like in the middle of one of the squares. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to start whip stitching in the middle. I'm going to start. I don't know. I think that might be easier. I'm not quite sure. Okay, so I'm going to start my whip stitching process. I'm going to tie my yarn in here. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and start doing the same exact thing that we did for just whip stitching these, but I'm obviously going all the way around, and I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do around these spots, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there, right? I went through that one, going through the back and front loops, same exact way. Okay, I just wanted to show you really quickly how I am joining the squares here, the corners of the square to the other side. And I'm just going to pull out my stitch marker. And in the chain one space on this side, I'm just going to insert my tapestry needle into the back loop. And then, I'm going to go in the middle of the seam here and just go through one of the loops in the middle seam. And then I'm going to go right back through that chain one space on this side, right back through, and then go through one of the chain two stitches on this side, in this corner here. I'm going to go into the chain two space that is closest to this cluster that's going in our direction that we're whip stitching in. And just tugging it tightly, and then continuing on whip stitching as we normally have been doing. I have reached all the way around, but I am going to go, as you can see, this is where I joined my yarn in, but I am going to go a little bit past what I've already done, just to make sure everything is really secure. And then I'm just going to go under my final loop with my tapestry needle, pull it a little tight, and then weave in my ends. Also, by the way, I did not pull out that long. Remember how in the beginning I said that I pulled out way too long of a tail of yarn? I definitely did not. It was kind of perfect. Maybe a little bit long, but not that much. So yeah, I had to update you on that because I thought it was so long, but it definitely was not. And now I'm just going to turn it back right side out. Okay, so here's what we have. I love it. I'm very happy with it, but I am not happy with the edge being so not straight. So I am going to do some rows of just single crochet all the way around until it looks neater. Right now it just looks kind of wonky. So I'm going to flip to the back. And I'm going to join my yarn in with my, not sure what hook I'm using. I think I'm just going to use my 4mm hook, and I'm going to join in the middle square again, just like in the chain one space. Tie my yarn, insert my hook into the chain one space, pull up a loop and chain one. And in that same chain one space, I am going to put a single crochet, and then I'm going to put a single crochet in every single one of the stitches in the chain one space, and every single double crochet of the cluster all the way around. Just one single crochet, in every single stitch. And I put one single crochet in each of the corner spots as well. So I've reached the corners here, and I'm just putting one single crochet in each of the spaces, and then continuing on as normal.
I made it all the way around, and now I'm just going to keep on repeating this for a few rows. I'm just going to go ahead and slip stitch at the end of the row in the top of the first single crochet. Then I'm going to chain 1, and in the same stitch that the chain 1 is in, I'm going to put a single crochet and then just 1 single crochet in every single stitch all the way around. And I'm just going to repeat this until I'm happy with the straightness of the bottom here, because it does still look a little bit wonky, so I'm guessing I might do like 3 or 4 rows, but we will see. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and I'll see you guys when I am done. And once I finished my final row of the border along the edge, I went ahead and wet blocked it and laid it to dry for a couple days, and I am just so happy with this skirt and how it turned out. It was such a fun experience making this and trying to replicate something from a TV show or a film. I just absolutely love doing that, and I really love how this piece turned out. I'm definitely going to be wearing it so much, and I really like how you can style it in so many different ways. I really like to pair it with this 70s style white blouse and then with a belt, but there's so many ways you can do it, even how she did it with like a cutesy little top and then like a red leather jacket and some boots. It's just so versatile and so cute, and I cannot wait to see if you guys make one of your own, if you guys want to stick with the same colorway that Phoebe has, or if you want to branch out and do a different colorway. I just really hope that you guys love this pattern and that you tag me in your finished creations, because I really, really want to see your takes on this skirt. And just thank you so much for all your support and all your love on my channel. It means so much, and stay tuned for the next video. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!